Those of you who know me know that I'm not a big singer. I don't generally like to sing. I don't feel I'm very good at it. I think God gives us different gifts, and I don't think I've been given that gift. But I do love lyrics. When I listen to music, the first thing I listen to is the lyrics. I want to make sure that the lyrics are good before I even consider whether the instrumental is good. And one song that has such meaning that kind of goes along with the theme of today's episode is I've decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back. So the story of this song is powerful. And I like to tell this story because even though a lot of people have heard it, even if one person hasn't, it really can get to you. I remember the first time I heard this story, it was shocking. It's hard to imagine being in the shoes of the people in this story. So the story goes that there was a missionary group who went to this tribe, and the tribe, they were not Christian, far from it, and this group managed to convert one family. They converted one family to Christianity in the tribe. Now, in this tribe, it was unacceptable. You could not be a Christian. You had to prescribe to the ideals and worldview of this tribe. Of course, there was no freedom of religion like we have today. So this family becomes Christian, and of course, the tribal leader finds out, and he's obviously not very happy about this. So he goes to them, and in fact, he brings his group, his posse, kind of like it's hard to imagine in the world today this happening, but it can still happen in the world today. This was not ancient history. This is relatively recent history. And he goes to the family and he says, "You need to recant your faith in Jesus, or we're going to kill you and your family." And the story goes that on the spot, the man of the house, this guy with his wife and kids, he came up with the lyrics to the song "I've Decided to Follow Jesus." So the story goes that they take the bow and arrows. They have bow and arrows in this tribe, and they say, "Recant, or we'll kill your kids." And the man starts saying, "I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back." So they shoot the arrows, and the kids, they're dead. Of course, it's a bow and arrow. And as they're on the floor, can you just imagine, especially anyone here who might be listening who's a parent, imagine seeing your kids like that. It's hard to imagine. I'm sorry for putting that image in your head, but it keeps going because then the tribal leader says, "We're going to once again give you another chance. Your kids are on the floor dying. Can't Jesus, or we're going to kill your wife." And he says, "Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. I've decided to follow Jesus, no turning back." And they shoot his wife. And his wife's now on the floor dying. And the tribal leader, at this point, just imagine being the people in the tribe. They're sitting there saying, what is this guy doing? What is motivating him to do such a thing? And finally, they say, "One last chance, we're going to kill you." They get their bow and arrows ready, and say, "Recant Jesus, or we'll kill you." And he says, "The cross before me, the world behind me. The cross before me, the world behind me. I've decided to follow Jesus, no turning back." And they shoot him, and he's dead. Now, of course, you don't end the story there. If we end the story there, that's a very, very sad story to tell. And it is sad. It's tragic. But the beauty is that after that happened, that tribal leader, he became so impressed with what he saw. He couldn't understand it. He couldn't understand why this man would die for Jesus and let his whole family die for Jesus. So the tribal leader actually converts to Christianity. And sooner or later, the entire village is converted to Christianity because they've seen the change in their leader and they saw what happened to that family, and this entire village is saved. Talk about self-denial. Talk about saturating yourself in the gospel. Do you think that those guys in that tribe, that family, do you think they had every theological point figured out? No. Do you think that they had been Christians for years? No, they just converted. What they knew is that Jesus saves. What they knew is that they decided to follow Jesus, and there was no turning back from that because it was the best thing for them to do. They saturated their lives in the gospel. Saturated their lives. This is a show that primarily focuses on pursuing truth and through apologetics and methods like that. And one of the greatest apologetic methods we have for the Christian faith is the martyrdom of the early apostles. Because we know that the disciples knew whether they were telling the truth or whether they were lying. This is why the comparison to something like Jamestown doesn't work. Because they honestly believed their lies. But the disciples knew for sure because they were claiming that Jesus rose from the dead. They were claiming something that they knew for sure whether they were telling the truth or not, right? and they willingly died for it. And that is one of the greatest evidences we have. Why would you die for something you know is a lie? People die for lies all the time, but they don't die for something they know for sure is a lie. Now, you could say that that family could have been deceived. You could. But I would ask you this: if that family believed so strongly in that, that says something. It's worth checking out. Of course, yes, there are people of other religions, Muslims, who will willingly die for something that they truly believe that I would say is not true. But if you look at the story of that man, imagine if you witnessed something like that, and then you went on to study and to find the evidences for the Christian faith. The cross before me, the world behind me. He's saying, the world's behind me. Everything that I once was no longer is. There, once again, there's your self-denial. This guy was saying that I doesn't matter who I once was. It doesn't matter what the world can give me. I have found something that is more real, that is true, and I'm giving my life to it. Or more accurately, I'm giving my life to him. So I want to challenge you today as we end off our show. If Christianity is true, and I always preface this, if Christianity is true, because there are many different viewpoints. If you're coming to this show and you don't believe Christianity is true, great. I'm so glad you're listening. Because you can go on that journey of truth, because you have to start somewhere. That's why I preface it, if Christianity is true. If Christianity is true, and if we've accepted Jesus, then the cross is before us and the world is behind us. And there is no turning back. There is no turning back. So I challenge you today. You know, I had a teacher in high school who once told me, every morning, you get up and you deny yourself. Every morning you get up and you give your life to Jesus, you repent and say, not me, but you, Lord. So I challenge you today to deny yourself every single morning. It's one of the hardest prayers to pray, but it's one of the most important prayers to pray. I'll leave you with that today. Saturate yourself in the gospel of Jesus Christ. He will never let you down. And if it's true, there's nothing more important than that. God bless. I'll see you here in 2 weeks.